Hello, I have a really exciting, beautiful announcement. I am introducing you today to Owl Paper Signature Delphina paper. Been a Tomoe River paper fan for years. I am a TRP girl all the way. I recently added Cosmo Air Light to my line of products because it's a beautiful paper, but also because we were in between looking for something when the Tomoe River paper was no longer available in the quality that this batch that I got in 2025 is, which, by the way, if you love this batch, and you can see the incredible quality here as far as bleed resistant and really crisp edges and crisp lines. There are these still on the website for 2025, and I will also be keeping the stock available for 2026 with redating sticker packs, but you can order these anytime. I have been testing paper for days and weeks here, and I am so psyched to announce to you Owl Paper's very own Signature Paper Delphina. This, I believe, is our answer for all of the things you love most about Tomoe River paper. Let me introduce you to some of its amazing qualities. You'll see there's an incredible similarity between color treatments and line width. In other words, how it takes the ink between these two papers. This is Tomoe River 2025 from the Owl Paper, and this is our new signature paper, Delphina. Now, I, as you are, as most of you watching this video, am incredibly in love with Tomoe River paper. And I tried many types of paper and absolutely fell in love with our signature paper. And as you can see, actually seems to handle the colors with just a bit more vibrance, which I love. Because one thing you'll notice about our Cosmo Air Light, like these notebooks here, is that they bring a ton of vibrancy into color. The pine green almost looks Kelly green. The indigo blues almost look sky blue. This is almost identical to the way Tomoe River handles the paper. In fact, if you compare the last 5 strokes where the Colorverse Coffee Break ink is fading out, you can see more shading there. There's more variations of shade here than there are here. So then we have the same thing with the green. That one is a lot closer actually. And then again, you have the same thing with the Pelikan 4001 ink, which is the third line. You can see it is a little bit more black on the Delphina and a little bit more off black on the Tomoe River. So that's super cool. That to me is an upgrade. Let's talk about the crinkle a little bit. Oh, I don't think I'll ever find anything exactly like it. However, just to compare a little bit, this is Cosmo Air Light, for instance. It's sort of, I don't know, thick and rubbery. People have talked about the rubbery texture, and I agree with that. It's a little bit, it's smooth, but it's rubbery. And so you're not going to get a crinkle. It's just going to turn as a sheet. This one is a lot more crinkly. Just to let you know, like how it compares to some other popular papers, I'm going to do these same inks in the Cosmo Air Light here. We have, again, the Coffee Break by Colorverse, and right off the bat, you can see it's just not producing the same spectrum of variation between the upstrokes and the downstrokes. It's a very pretty color. It still is some variation, but if you're like me and you're looking for a lot of variation, you will see that when compared with Delphina or Tomoe River, it's a lot chunkier of a line. Either it is wicking the ink in more, or the ink is sitting on the surface. But next we have the Infinity Pine Green from the Extended Cap Off line from Private Reserve, a ink with an incredibly beautiful flow. And next we're going to do Pelikan Brilliant Brown. By the way, the nib I'm using is a Nico G, and I love it. If you want to get Well, this has a beautiful flow. I'm actually able to get a more thin line out of it. Let's get some more ink. It also tends to use, I feel like maybe it uses the ink more quickly. There are people who do studies on how much ink they use on a page, and I just love meta details like that. Because who doesn't want your ink to last longer? Again, we're getting a pretty chunky line. Pretty colors though. Whoops. Didn't wait for it to dry. And now we're gonna go for Brilliant Black by Pelikan, another ink I really love. This has a perfect flow for calligraphy strokes. See how, for instance, a Monteverde extra fine pen. I'm gonna write the date, I guess. That is such a beautiful line on the Tomoe River. This pen and this paper are made for each other. The smoothness is amazing. Very similar. We've got this over here. Whenever I write on my Delphina paper, because it's my baby and I'm bringing it out to the world, I get nervous. So you see my letters are not quite the same. Let's try that again. As you can see, they're very similar. This dried so beautifully. It dried right away. Coffee break, pine green. None of these inks are water resistant inks, so this is really satisfying. One of the feedbacks I've gotten about this is that the dry time is not super great. So now we're gonna do that same, just writing the date. You can right away see it is not the same experience at all. This extra fine nib has turned into a medium nib. I don't mind that if I'm drawing. It makes beautiful drawings because I like to see the line when I'm drawing. If I'm trying to write nice and small in my journal or my journal layouts, I want this effect or this effect here. And a favorite pen of mine is a Pilot Cacunia, and it is full of brilliant black. And oh, what a beautiful writing experience. Delicate is whatever I walk past my desk and I see my Delphina paper, that's what I think is delicate. It gives such a delicate appearance. Tomoe River paper is so skatey and so incredibly smooth, like I feel like my pen is running away. For the Cosmo Air Light, again, I was just a little bit startled by how thick the ink came out, and then I got used to it and started writing super tiny, and I love my spreads in Cosmo Air Light. I'm just really excited about this. You know, again, this is an extra fine pen, and I want it to display as an extra fine pen. I want it to perform as an extra fine pen. All right, now we're gonna move on to some swatching. Okay, that's pretty. Pretty swatch. Oh, that's gonna bleed. So I know Tomoe River paper is like really bleed resistant, but I just dumped the ink on there. Okay, all right, now actually let me try something different. Let me try brushing. Yeah, I still want to do the other papers before I change. This part makes me nervous. It makes me nervous because if I get too much ink on there, it's not like fair from one paper to another. When I'm trying to show bleed resistance and stuff, probably there's a way to do this that I'm being very silly about it. All right, coming back to this, I wanted them to dry. Here's the back of this, where the ink was poured on. There is no bleed through. You can see the color is absolutely beautiful. This is not dry yet. Tomoe River. No bleed through whatsoever on any of the three papers. Second, I'm doing. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of the pine green. Too much green, too much. All right, lots of green. There we go. That's a little bit of the lighter. Again for this over here. And I just ruined those calligraphy strokes. All right, we've got Tomoe River. Let's let this dry a bit. All right, so we've got Tomoe River paper. This ink can tend to bleed through. Oh, you'll see with the color verse, it eventually starts some modeling. Super heavy. No bleed through or modeling there. Now, I will say that I don't think this was a fair test to the Tomoe River with the colorverse because I put it on way too heavy. But I do want to show, and these are two of my most bleed prone inks. I don't typically put them on the paper that way because of that, but I did want to show you the Delphina as it is an apples to apples comparison. And what you're seeing is more just very heavy ink, none of the actual modeling of the bleed through. Important tests that I did yesterday. This is the Brilliant Black Pelican ink with this pen. It's an extra fine Cocuno. And the same pen, same ink on the Delphina. And then very same in Cosmo Air Light here on the, and Tomoe River paper here on the bottom. So if you value the more extra fine lines and just the way that it takes ink from a calligraphy pen and having more of a similar color delivery, Tomoe River paper, plus maybe a little bit of that crinkleness. I hope this shows you some of the strengths and why I fell in love with this paper so much that's been specially curated for our paper. We will be releasing a whole line of products in 2026 in this paper. And I really hope that some of you who are still reeling from the recent developments with the Tomoe River paper will find a lot of solace in this paper because it is incredibly beautiful.